Welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. On today's episode, more conspiracy theories and the mustache death match. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm the one. I'm the guy. If you were to have a seance and bring John Bonham back and ask him who his favorite drummer is, you know.
Yeah, of course.
It'd be Carmine.
Right.
As Carmine will tell you.
I want to, yeah. So, I mean, what a way to introduce yourself. Hi, I'm John Bonham's favorite drummer.
Exactly. I'm the one who influenced Led Zeppelin, way before anything, really. That's all my idea, really. Vanilla Fudge was really like Led Zeppelin before... You know, the Led Zeppelin happened.
And I do
to hear Carmine tell it.
Yeah, right. And I do like Carmine. He's been in a lot of bands.
I got a bit of beef, man. I mean, he played with Blue Murder. I'll give him that, but he was a dick to my drummer's drum tech. So.
Okay, but he also had King Cobra. That first King Cobra album, Ready to Strike, is
and he actually
awesome.
was in the video for Bark at the Moon too. Remember?
And King Cobra, right? Yeah. But he didn't play the drums on it.
He did not. But I don't know. I think he's done a lot of great stuff, and he's clearly a rock and roll legend, I guess. But I hear, it's strange what a Fu Manchu does to a man. It does, and that actually brings up a topic I wanted to talk about forever when it comes to rock and roll, which is there ever an acceptable time to have a mustache?
So welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. One of today's topics is...
mustaches, acceptable or no?
Okay, this could be a rich topic.
Now, obviously, the thing about great guitar players with mustaches, here's one thing I'll say. Neil Schon... on occasion has been known to rock a mustache.
He's been an on-off stash guy.
My Neil Schon that I cling tightly to is the no mustache Neil Schon.
Well, there's more to you could actually hang on to the mustache.
I don't want to. I want to pretend in the world that I live in, there's no mustache in Neil Schon land. When he's playing the solo to Who's Crying Now, there's no mustache involved. You know what I mean? It's
really, I don't know. I think what, mustaches. There were more mustaches before MTV.
That's true. And then people said, "What mustache? What?"
Yeah, you'll notice that the bands of the '70s were far more.
They were definitely mustache heavy back.
Yeah, they were far more hirsute when they didn't have to film music videos.
I always think of ZZ Top when I hear hirsute. I'm like, oh, it's ZZ Top, of course, like Billy Gibbons, and that's
it's
that's the most hirsute band in there is.
It's a little known fact that the Patterson Gimlin film is just Billy Gibbons was camping that weekend, and he was just headed to the porta potties. Everyone thought it was Bigfoot.
All right, so let's think who's a great guitar player. Now we're going to count Carmine. He's a drummer. And we all know drummers are subhumans. So
yes, well, which brings us back to Bigfoot. So I like how you're tying everything together today.
He's like an uber human, the Bigfoot. He's like
Oh, so you think he's like
an evolution of.
You think Sasquatch was brought down by extraterrestrials?
No, I don't think that. I think he just evolved from some primordial ooze of some sort, and he's just took a different evolution.
So he's more like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
But without the ooze
factor.
No, I mean, just talking about over millions of years. You know what I mean? He's out there living clean on the land. Somehow makes his hair all nice and clean and shiny.
So he's crunchy Bigfoot.
Exactly. He's wearing Birkenstocks and all that stuff. He's out there, all organic, baby.
He's got the Grateful Dead bears tattooed on his arm.
All right, here's what we got to do though. We got to think guitar players only who rock mustache. The first one that comes to my mind is Uli Roth.
Yeah, Uli John Roth, man. I've never seen him without the stash.
I don't think so. Yeah, and he's not a beard guy though. He's a mustache guy. He doesn't.
Right. He's it's like a Fu Manchu.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then
yeah, absolutely. And so maybe that's
James Hetfield occasionally with the mustache.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. If we're doing this as like a head-to-head competition, I'm going Team Uli.
No, we're not. I'm just trying to name mustache rockers.
Yeah, so you got to give it up to Uli because he's consistently had the mustache, right? Like James Hetfield, didn't turn into the dad on American Choppers until
recent,
the 2000s,
years,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was just a regular rock and roll guy before that. You know what I mean? Who else? There's got to be more mustache guys than that.
Well, I mean, there's Michael Schenker.
Yeah, but he's also kind of an on and off mustache guy. He was on for a while, off, and then obviously Rudolph Schenker, his brother, is never not rock.
Oh yeah, okay. So Rudolph Schenker is he's always mustache guy.
But almost always. Michael's on and off. I think he's not anymore because now he's old, so his mustache would be just pure white, so he doesn't even go with the mustache. He just looks it's this blonde the tips and stuff.
Yeah, it's just stealth stash.
Yes, exactly. But when I look at him, I still in my mind just put the mustache there, he's got a mustache. mustache.
You just draw the mustache on.
Wasn't one of the guys from like actually no guys in Allman Brothers? Those guys that wasn't.
Oh well, of course. I mean, if we're gonna go Southern rock, then it's mustaches galore.
And Dwayne
right?
Betts, right? Or Dwayne, not Dickie Betts, it was Dwayne Allman.
Dwayne Allman,
Dickie Betts too. Yeah, my God.
Yeah, Warren Haynes.
Yeah,
I mean,
all the guys in Skinner. It's like
Southern rock's easy pickings, right? Like Goober Grin from Black Oak, Arkansas. Of course, they had all mustaches. And you're also, you know what, with the Southern rock thing, you're getting into like the whole mustache rock, like Toto territory.
Yeah, but Toto was not like Lukather never rocked a mustache.
Lukather didn't, but
the singer Bobby Kimball did.
I mean, like
that's like arguably he's like the Tom Selleck of rock singers.
I think it's safe to bet that like everybody in Blue Oyster Cult at one point had a mustache.
Yeah, I agree with that. And,
that's
Geezer Butler, but he's a bass player. It's kind of
yeah.
Actually, by extension, Iommi.
Tony Iommi, the most iconic mustache.
Yeah,
he's pretty much. I'm not always, but almost always been a mustache.
Only
guy.
later. I think I'm telling you, I think it's the hair dye is why they get old. They just go the clean shaven look. I think that's what it is.
That's a fascinating.
Because they just have to dye
take.
their hair then at that point. They don't have to dye their mustache and their hair. They just have to dye their hair. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
That's my take. And then Neil.
Fascinating. Yes. Yeah, we need to do like
Neil Peart had a mustache for occasion. He's a drummer.
But drummer, so it doesn't matter. Now
I will not ever allow Neil Peart to be said as a subhuman. He is like a different He's like a different level. He's like a god tier.
He's really the Sasquatch of percussion.
Yeah, exactly.
He's highly evolved from the primordial ooze.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, at some point in the '80s, the people said, like, this is kind of silly. Why are we?
This is not cool. So what triggered this was we were talking about Canada's greatest solo artist, Lee Aaron.
Yeah, which I was telling Ryan, I don't know who that is.
Oh, bro.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is, eh?
Just only because of the Canada part.
Well, and I saw it. Her songs are great, and she's a beautiful girl, and she's an awesome singer. I mean,
killer singer. Yeah,
I'm actually really like, I never heard this person.
Yeah, so there's something for our listeners to check out there. Go like lots of great AOR rock, right? We were talking about the band Giant the other week.
Yeah. You know what's funny too is that I find that in that sort of genre, like what I would describe her music as is a combination of like Dio and Loverboy. It's like in between of those two.
Yeah, Loverboy also a Canadian band, right?
Are they a Canadian band?
Yeah, Loverboy's Canadian.
Wow, everyone's from Canada. My God.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad now. But
so that makes perfect sense.
So there's the thing though. I was always wondering about AOR style. I mean, we talked about this a little bit last time, but not really got in the weeds of it. Why is it not cool like AOR? Like if you say, hey, I love Foreigner, I love Journey, I love
well, because the record
Styx, I love whoever, Loverboy, REO Speedwagon, Giant,
because the record company shifted all of those listeners over to stupid ass New Country.
See, I think that's kind of a cop out to just blame the record label. Is that if you talk to a lot of like dudes and say, man, I really love Foreigner. Like very often though, you get kind of like a side glance, like what? Like it's like it's somehow kind of fey to like Foreigner. It's like,
yeah. Well, I mean, so
I'm really into freaking Megadeth, dude, and I do love Megadeth. But it's like that's you're supposed to be into like the more hardcore stuff. I feel like if you're into like well written like pop music that's got great guitars and it's got a slight edge to it, it's seen as like I don't know, it's kind of like looked down on. I've always
well, I mean, again, we talk a lot about the '90s, but I mean that's when like rock guitar music had to go like hyper aggro masculine.
Yeah,
right?
Why? What happened? Like why? What's going on? Is it just a cultural? Do you think it's like a big just tectonic shift of like the?
I don't know. I have to give the shout out to YouTube guy Bad Brad. He has a theory that the record companies thought that the people who are really loyal to these bands, like generation after generation, it's like they're dudes, whereas the female audience bounces from like band to band.
You know what though? Journey, Def Leppard just proved that. Foreigner too. Those guys are arguably bigger now than they've ever been.
I agree. I don't know. This is someone else's opinion, right? So, maybe they thought that like going like hyper aggro masculine with every. I mean, that's going
to shrink your audience though. That's going to basically mean that okay, only like the disaffected dudes are going to be into what you're doing. You know what I mean? watch
the documentaries about Woodstock '99.
I know. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when you go that's what you get is that. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's weird because those other bands, sold more records by a large margin. It's better.
I don't get it.
I'm just thinking from a marketing perspective, I can either market to everybody or I can market to this niche. It seems like you want to market to everybody.
You would think so. That's a great question. I really, really don't understand.
That's a business thing, but I'm thinking culturally. Like, just think about like when you and I were like, if we were like 17 or whatever, and we're like talking about. Like, I'm the biggest. I got not in fist fights, but in fights with those because I'm a huge fan of the band Winger. I've always thought Winger was awesome. I even in the '90s when I was like. not cool at all to be a fan. I'm like, that band's fucking great. I'm not going to talk shit.
Right. Their whole design goal was to be great.
Everything about that band's freaking awesome. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, so
but
I mean,
it was like they give you that look like, whoa.
Right. Well, so I think the thing I'm getting at is that, I mean, we live in America. Business dictates culture.
Sure, but those bands were very successful too, though. So I don't understand like what the. I'm getting more of the. I'm not blaming business. Business is going to do business. Business is an amoral thing.
But business shapes culture so that they can sell products.
Does it though? I mean,
yes,
I don't know.
Yes, it does. I hate that, but it does. Is it possible
this is like a closeted thing? Like there's a whole bunch because there's no way a band sells as many records as Foreigner, and then like all the dudes hate them. That's impossible. So is it just like a closeted on a huge
and there were so many.
They go home and they have their Lou Gramm poster like in the corner or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like
I definitely remember growing up feeling like Foreigner was a more sophisticated rock band. So like they were kind of for people that were older than me, but I still liked it.
Yeah, it's great stuff. It's impossible not to like. You don't see we were talking about this before. If something's great. Like, you don't have to be talked into it.
It's undeniable. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that's fantastic. It's like you go to a restaurant, they bring some food to you, and you're like, you take a bite, and like, oh, what is this? And
okay,
so you don't understand. Like this has got this little pepper that comes from here, and it's like this. If you really take it again, you think about it, it's really great. And I'm like, okay, let me try it again. Oh, now I can see what you're saying. You can't. If something like a chocolate mousse to me, I don't have to be talked into this.
I have a theory.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a theory. It's the radio stations versus MTV.
Okay, come out just to be clear. The frame are saying that the foreigners of the world are disliked because of the radio stations, or not because of the radio stations?
No, okay. No, I'm making the point for business shapes the culture, right?
Okay,
so you've got two. So in the music industry at the time, you've got two competitors essentially, right? There's the established, radio business, right? And that's what AOR. I mean, AOR stands for Artist on Rotation, right? It's a radio format, right?
Okay.
So the Def
radio.
Leppard,
by the way, all you youngins, just go on Google and just put what is radio.
Yeah. so it's a radio format, right?
Sure.
So that's where the bands like Foreigner and Journey,
Styx,
Boston,
right? Yeah,
Boston, yeah. So that's where all that music got popular, right? It had to be appealing to a broad audience, and it was raised by radio, right?
Oh my God, that's an awesome title for a song, "Raised on the Radio."
Dude, okay.
Someone should write that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's making some good ideas here. This is good. Yeah,
I know. That was excellent. Thank you to
Raised on the Radio.
Thanks to our brain cells.
Note to self, write song called "Raised on the Radio."
Right.
First time anyone's ever done this.
So on one side of the battle, you've got your AOR artists, right, on rotation on radio, right?
Sure.
And then your competitor is MTV. Yeah. And so MTV wants to drive things in a more, aggro, like shitty direction.
So we're talking about like mid '90s time period, right?
Yeah, like late 80s, mid 90s, right? And so like MTV embraced emergent genres, including hip hop, right? Because they needed to feature stuff on MTV that the radio stations weren't playing on the radio, just from a business standpoint, right? And so it just so happens like the only place to go is, we're going to take all the rock and make it way more fucking aggro. We're going to promote like rap because it's emergent. I think that's what happened, right? And MTV eventually had more cultural cachet.
Yeah, but those guys, radio and MTV, were partners starting from the early '80s up to the mid '90s. I mean, they were like hand in hand. Like, if you look at like, Bon Jovi had a Match the Single on the radio. It was also in rotation on MTV.
I don't know about partners. I think,
but there's a lot of sort of stuff that was aligning between what they were both playing.
Well, the radio stations had to keep up, right? Yeah. MTV disrupted the market.
If there was if there was a massive hit on the radio, it was almost certainly a massive hit on MTV as well.
So the whole reason that the horrors of Nirvana occurred was that MTV put it on MTV and it got hot, and that forced the radio stations to play it. It didn't happen the other direction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that might have been where things changed around. I personally we've talked about this on this podcast many times. Like, I think that whole change happened more about our generation, yours and mine, deciding that we're too hip. We're too cool. We're too real.
If MTV and the radio stations, if MTV hadn't changed the format, right? If MTV had decided that Bangalore Choir was going to be the next thing,
rather than Nirvana,
and they just ran Bangalore Choir, like if they took like Headbangers Ball and had it start at like 8 p.m. and run it all night, MTV could have done that, and that's what would have been popular, right?
Yeah. Like, so what you're basically arguing is that they create both the supply and the demand.
That's right.
That's basically it. They're just saying that. So it's not that this upswell of people saying, "Oh, I really want to hear aggro music." They're sort of told, "This is what you guys want to."
Well, they have the market. At the time, MTV had the market cornered. They had the youth market cornered, right? And so they decided, it was finally after the 80s, they had to find artists to populate MTV, right? And so that's why we've got all like the goofy mustache band videos, trying to figure out how to make music videos, what's it going to be, all those super fun, weird ass fucking.
What's fun about that time period too is there's a lot of like young directors who are trying to make it in business, who's got in there and said, hey, we can't give you a TV show or movie, but why don't you try directing a couple videos? And they kind of were working their stuff out. For instance, Michael Bay directed the Up All Night video from Slaughter.
Nice.
So he did a couple of those.
Slaughter, that's a perfect, like they could have just like rolled with Slaughter. Like Slaughter was a big deal in the early 90s, and they could have just kept rolling with
Firehouse, the same kind of thing.
Or Firehouse, or Warrant could have kept rolling,
all great
right?
bands, though, you know what I mean?
But those were bands that were getting play on the radio, right? MTV introduces like this new thing that's shitty, but it doesn't matter. It's new and different, and MTV popularizes it, and so the kids.
But if there's not a buy-in from our generation, then it doesn't matter.
They'd buy whatever MTV was selling.
Wow, I didn't. I was like, fuck this.
Well, okay, you and I didn't because we care about music, but we're talking about the broader culture, right? Okay. We're talking about
the people who don't give a shit.
We're talking about
the 40 types.
Yeah, we're talking about the casuals.
Yeah.
Right,
and the vast majority of anything.
Dude, we've said before, man, if you only eat at one cafeteria ever, right, or at one restaurant ever, and if all of a sudden, you show up and the menu only has shit sandwich on it, that's what happened. Our generation just ate the shit sandwich and was like, oh, it's from MTV though. This is delicious.
Man, this is you can really taste the piquant notes.
I know. right. Dude, I think there's some corn in here. Oh, I know. Let's find a band called Corn. Okay, great, excellent.
God, if only that hadn't happened. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that American culture is. I mean, it's a capitalistic society. So it's whatever the media makers want. They are the ones who dictate.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, man. I think that you get the culture that you. It's just like
that's how you get the culture you deserve.
Exactly, you get the culture you deserve. If you engage or you're not. Same with politics, really. You can sit and complain about political situations, but you either jump in or do something or you don't. It's the same thing with culture. You can't just like be along for the ride. If you
there's a cold hard fact that everyone needs to accept.
Okay, lay it on me. What's the cold hard fact that everyone needs to accept?
Most people are idiots.
That I don't agree with. I know many people, and there's a lot of very intelligent, very
I know smart, a lot,
very empathetic.
The people that we know and meet in our circles. Yes, I'm talking about like on a grand scale.
Okay, so what would that Venn diagram between smart, empathetic people and idiots be? Is what we're talking?
I didn't say anything about empathy or not empathy. I just said idiots. You could be like a very
empathetic idiot.
You could be like a high character, like very nice, like
idiot,
but an idiot. Right?
Like we're talking about 60-40. We're talking about that. We're talking about like
you could be a very, very good person. But like you could spend none of your life like thinking about anything deeper. Just eating like the shit sandwich culturally. You might even
actually sounds like most people.
Like you might even like go to college and learn how to perform a complex task. Yeah. But that doesn't make you a deep thinker.
Oh, for sure. I have personal experience with people who've got like advanced degrees who are not intelligent people.
Right. So I'm just saying, most people are, and I'll expand on it. Most people are idiots, and I mean most.
But with love. With love,
yeah, no,
you're not loved and accepted.
Yeah, look, I totally accept that I'm a monkey that like tries to collect resources.
Yep, and to your credit, you were flinging poo way before it was cool, man.
Absolutely, man. I'm there along with everybody, right? Exactly. I'm not saying there are very few people that are like really, really like super highly intelligent or, and even fewer who are like genius level.
Sure.
And once you get to genius level, then you start sacrificing character and like narcissism comes in.
Or you just have massive,
character flaws.
That can happen, or it could be a situation where you just have no social skills, whatever. So you have this like it's almost like a laser beam focused on this one thing and you have nothing around that,
But most people are going through, like most people are also followers.
That's totally true.
Right.
And we've talked about this before, not to get too sciencey, but there's an evolutionary explanation for why that is.
Right. You don't want to get picked off by a predator.
Yeah, because in groups you're safer. And
right. So safety in numbers. Yep.
So you're the person is extricated from the group. That's like you're more likely to die and not pass on your genes.
Right.
Which is why people tend to be followers.
So there you go. We're a bunch of monkey followers. So most of us, right?
Not me though. I'm like a angry wolf living in the woods.
An angry lone wolf.
Yeah, exactly. Taking the care of business and like living life on my own terms. You know what I mean? That's like that's kind of how I see myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see myself more as like a grizzly bear out in the forest.
Yeah, that's right. Grizzly bears and lone wolves. That's what we are. Hell
I want to like catch a fish and like just kind of poop whenever I feel like it, and like take lots of naps.
That explains the poo flinging.
Right, totally. But
check his Insta.
But in reality, we're just a bunch of monkeys, right? So so therefore,
who are easy pickings for MTV.
So like people follow MTV, right? They would like MTV could have put anything. They could have found my old Casio synthesizer from when I was 10 years old and just like right. Except I sampled fart sounds. Right? They could have like MTV could have popularized
they played that over and over again.
Yep.
With like a super highly produced video or something like that.
Absolutely. Now it may have taken a few decades before we got to Pop Tropica Sluts, but it happened.
So we said it could have like staved it off a little bit. Like, okay, we could have,
MTV could have popularized anything.
That their greatest sin, more than even that, is that they are like patient zero for reality television. That's
that too. Oh my God.
That's the talk about something that makes culture so much dumber. I mean, my God.
Well, does it? Yeah, I mean, it makes culture dumber because it's easy to sell shit to dumb people.
Exactly. But I mean, what's it called? The Real World, MTV, The Real World.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah,
Zero. That's
Patient
like
Zero. Yeah,
the first one bit by the zombie was that one.
Yeah, and then Survivor was like, if the Real World was 28 days later, then Survivor was 28 weeks later.
Yeah. And now we're living in whatever the world we're in now, where everything's reality shows.
Now we're living in like Jersey Shore and Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Like I don't even know. I don't know why I would want to tune in to watch people like
act like they're acting or not.
Yeah, react badly to shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah, also totally staged by the producers.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like they're not paying for writers. That's the only thing they're not doing. You know what I mean?
They're not paying for writers. They're not paying for sets. They're not paying for. I mean, it's cheap, right? That's why
people are willing to be, what's the word, debased for fame everywhere. So
yeah, or if you go to the Learning Channel, then you can watch My 600-Pound Sister Wives. Like what the fuck?
I don't so many lessons on that. Oh my God,
those are the ones that I guess like bum me out the most, because like if you're like 600 pounds obese, like people are just tuning into your show to like
you're the car crash on the side of the road.
Well, it's like the Elephant Man.
Oh,
it's like a freak show kind of thing, right? It's like you're electing to become a modern day freak. Joseph Merrick made money as a freak, like traveling through Europe, like with his like set of deformities and disabilities, right? And then they outlawed that, right? And luckily, they gave him a home at the Royal London Hospital, and he got to live out the rest of his days. And anyway,
yeah, I mean,
so like that was like humanity working in favor of you. Like today, he would have a fucking reality show.
Yeah, exactly, on TLC
called like My Fucking Lumpy Head or some shit, right? Yeah, it's so lame. So, but people tune in anyway. So
your basic thesis overall is that people are idiots. That's the main thing causing that. So going back to AOR though, so you think it's the idiotness is why people hate it? I think it's talk shit about AOR.
I think AOR.
They can't, because they're so freaking successful though.
Well, they were.
No, they still are, dude. Some of the biggest tickets being sold are Journey, Def Leppard.
Because of nostalgia.
Yeah, I guess so. But people love the songs still. You know what I mean?
Because of nostalgia, and the songs are good. There's a reason that's because
they can't have been hated that much because they were so successful then and now. So
I'm just saying that there was competition in the music industry at a certain point in time between MTV and the radio stations.
But even before the grunge thing happened, there was a lot of like talking shit about bands like Foreigner or Loverboy or whatever those kind of. It's like
they had their heyday before that, like mid 80s.
Even during their heyday, there's people who would talk shit about it. I saw an interview in Guitar Player magazine where Eddie Van Halen was talking to Yaz Auerbach, the guy who was the editor of Guitar Player magazine, and they were talking about Journey and how much they fucking hated Journey. Fucking Journey. Fucking hate those guys. Bunch of sappy love songs. Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
This is back in the heyday of Journey.
Well, the heavy rock bands, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know about Van Halen because I mean, Van Halen was wildly successful.
Well, Van Halen was just, I'm sure, was pissed that they were so successful, and he's just
right. I mean, they were probably still selling more albums than Van Halen.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah, right. So there was probably some of that competition.
Also, he had Roth as the vocalist at that point, and they could never write like a Faithfully with David Lee Roth as the vocalist.
Right.
No one would ever buy that. You know
Good
what I mean?
point. Well, then Eddie finally got what he wanted with Sammy.
They toured with Journey on their first big tour too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've always thought that was weird. Like I've kind of, you know, the lone wolf that I am, wandering the woods and taking what I want. I've always kind of been
pooping in the forest.
I usually poop right directly in the people's septic tanks to save them time. You know, that's what I do. No, but like I was never like shy about saying I like Bon Jovi, I like Foreigner, you know, I like Winger. I'm a fan of those bands.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I don't like that band just because it's not cool to you.
I wholeheartedly agree. But again, we're you know, we're the bear pooping in the forest, right? Like we don't care what other people think, right?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's why
XYZ is better than Nirvana by every measure. Yeah, sorry, people.
And
that's
true. That's what I loved about all the guitar players I looked up to as a kid, because they were like these totally self-actualized, you know, people that were, you know, here's the cool shit I'm doing, and you can get on board or not. But I don't care because I'm going to keep doing this cool thing I'm doing, right?
Yep.
That egalitarian, like independent attitude, right? That's I've always found that appealing, right? Right. I mean, and
being unapologetically awesome and not like trying to hide your awesomeness, you know.
And you know, people pay a lot of lip service to that, but I mean,
nobody wants that though.
No, I mean,
everyone says they want that, but they don't really want that.
They don't really want that, right? Yeah. I mean, they pay lip service to it, but you know, as soon as Garth Brooks is playing at Golden One, they're buying tickets and they're going to tuck their shirt into their jeans and like they're going to look bad and they're going to go sound bad and be dumb and that's, you know, just because everyone else does it.
Anybody tucking their shirt in is going to look bad, is what you're saying?
I think if you tuck your shirt into your jeans, you're going to look bad. Yes, that is a fashion faux pas.
What kind of cowboy boots are you wearing, though? And then how big is your belt buckle? Those all matter. Those things all matter. You know what I mean? Dude, is your belt buckle big enough? Is it the size? Is it like a serving platter? Because then it's appropriate.
If I had a soul, Scott, it would be dying right now.
I'm poking you, my bear.
I wish I had a large belt buckle to defend myself. Yes, but I don't.
Or even a serving platter. You can like double as a shield if like you're ever attacked by arrows or something. You know?
Yeah, or you could like heat up some baked beans on it, like around the campfire at night.
Boot that you wouldn't do.
The only problem is that when you're heating up those baked beans around the campfire, it's not because you're a rugged cowboy. It's because you're a tweaker in fucking Fresno.
It's 3 a.m. or whatever. You haven't slept in 4 days.
Yeah, right. It's 4:30 a.m.
It's not
and
a campfire.
Coming up.
It's caught on fire.
And there's actually no beans. You're just hallucinating because you've been up for 2 weeks,
scratching and shivering inside. You know, typical Garth Brooks fan.
Couple clumps of hair falling. Anyway, I don't know where we're going with all this, but anyway, so the reason, so I think the oversimplification is that, you know, in the gladiatorial arena, right? Radio showed up with Foreigner and Journey, and MTV showed up with fucking grunge. And rap and hip hop, and since all the young people were rooting for MTV won. Yeah, and we're still feeling the reverberations now. MTV's not relevant like as a music
for 20 years. Yeah,
well, as a musical force anymore.
Is it culturally? I mean, I guess they have like the Jersey Shore.
I don't know, man. The last time I watched any reality TV on MTV was like in 2005 and 2006.
Wow. Okay.
And like. Yeah, we used to watch a show called Date My Mom, which was occasionally hilarious.
All right, well, I'm so proud of you for feeling safe enough to actually just express that. That's amazing. You know what I mean?
I mean, dude, I was drunk a lot back then. I admittedly was hammered like often in those days.
That seems like the most appropriate time and place to be watching that show.
I was hammered in a variety of ways all the time back then. Yes, it was a dark period of my life.
Sorry.
But I do remember Date My Mom being pretty fucking funny.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? No, here's what the afternoon like viewing block was. It was Date My Mom and Hogan Knows Best.
Hogan, like Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, like it was Hulk Hogan's like.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
obvious. Like, of course we have a
right before you know his messy divorce, and he became he revealed himself to be a total asshole.
Oh, okay.
But
this wasn't like a Jim McMahon like heel turn. This was like a real like a total asshole.
But you know, at least like one was like an absurdist game show. Like if you're into absurd comedy, like one was an absurdist game show, right? So like where like the dude like he has to meet.
Talking about date your mom.
It's like a dating game, right?
Yeah, so like Love Connection or something like that, or
well, yeah. It's like you meet like 3 moms, and but they're like proxies for their daughters, and they're trying to win a date for their daughters. So the guy interviews the potential date, like you run the dating game, right?
Oh, okay. So like he's talking to the moms in order to get to the daughters.
To decide which daughter he wants to date based on what he thinks of the mom.
Okay.
And then he picks and then I think he has to go.
He pick the mom and then the daughter just
I can't remember if
you were hammered all the time. I'm going to give you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I can't remember if he has to. I think he has to go out on a date with the mom. To then go on a date with the daughter, or maybe the mom just like talks him into a date with the daughter.
Well, it's very complex. I would think.
And actually, and I think it used to go the other way around. No, actually, I think it was always. This is like the pre-Me Too era, so I think it was always the mom's trying to get a date for the daughter.
Okay, I get you,
dude. I was fucked up.
Thanks for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Now back to the show.
So
exactly, we're spending a lot more time on the show than
but compared to like Jersey Shore or Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, the only reason I'm aware of those 2 shows is because they run the commercials on Comedy Central, like non-fucking stop.
Well, I mean, people are stupid. That's what you're saying.
Oh, they are. In the commercial for Jersey Shore, they're asking one of the like Jersey girls, like, describe you and your friends in one word. She's like, if I had to pick one word, it would be unbreakable. Shut the fuck up. You got a buttload of money from stupid ass MTV.
Not as much as you would
You're
think.
You're not unbreakable.
Yeah.
But, it's like when someone it's like when you meet someone and they're like and they tell you, one thing you should know about me is that I'm brutally honest. It's like, ding, 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 you're an idiot. Yeah. I know you're an idiot now. You're repeating a thing you heard somewhere else.
Yes, I know. Isn't that the most frustrating thing? It's like, oh my God, this is not you at all. This
right.
is like a persona you're putting on.
Totally. You're parroting this thing, and you couldn't back that up with any, like, it's just like, that's
authenticity does not live here.
Yeah, that's the thing that idiots say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right? To keep this in mind, a lot of people, they don't spend a lot of time thinking about who they are or what they believe. They just kind of float through life and do whatever. You know what I mean? It's like
totally. And
as Gandhi was quoted saying.
And again,
just float through life and do whatever.
And again, yeah, right. It's very Zen Buddhist. Yeah. So again, I'll say, one of the things I love about being a musician and hanging around musicians is that like we're not those kind of people. So I think you and I are spoiled, right? Like all of our students, all of our colleagues, like
kind of done their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, just by picking up a musical instrument and applying yourself towards it, like it shows that you aren't just like floating through life going along. I mean, you're engaging in a creative act.
I've always found that very interesting too. This to dig deeper on that, like when you talk to people who have advanced degrees, who have masters and let's say masters or doctorates or something in something, and you start talking to them and you realize that there's the pool doesn't go very deep. It's like how did you get through all that schooling to get that doctorate?
Well,
it's like, is it just you're good at taking tests? Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, totally. I think in
no
some
knowledge
fields
behind it at all. It's just like just what you need to know for what your job is, and that's it.
I think in some fields, definitely. It sure depends on what it is, but I mean, I've got some students.
I have people that teach you doctors, lawyers who are like, there's just if you take. I'm sure they're great at their jobs, but if you take 2 steps left or right, there's just nothing there.
I'll tell you what, like the guy who did my dad's lung operation, the doctor, right? Because they come in and they sit down with you and they tell you, okay, here's how your loved one's doing and shit. It's all, dude. I fucking hate that waiting room because you're like sitting on a couch where someone found out their loved one died.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's you're gonna find out like your dad died.
Well, imagine how much you're the person who has to tell someone that your dad just died. That's gotta be the worst thing ever.
So people think that sociopathy is just the domain of like serial killers and stuff, but it's not. Like lots of doctors are like sociopathic, right? Like they aren't able to empathize the way that other people do.
Do you think they start that way, or do you
yes.
think they kind of become that way and get numbed over years of
no, I think your brain's wired. I think your brain chemistry is a certain way and your neural pathways are a certain. I mean it's always nature and nurture, but I think like nature plays an outsized role. Like,
I think that sets the table, and then what happens is nurture. You know what I mean?
I agree, because I mean, totally. So, but in terms of like the like, I think that if you can't like empathize, like on like clinically speaking, it doesn't mean that you're going to be like a horrible fucking person. It just means, you might be qualified to like,
hey, your dad just died, kind of thing,
or to like keep your cool while cutting someone open and like rearranging their organs and shit. Like, that's who I want cutting me open. Someone who isn't going to be emotional. I want fucking Dr. Spock.
You don't want like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, covered in their eyes. Oh my god, okay, oh my god, 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 oh my god.
You remember Weird Al's?
There's not enough anesthetic in the world to keep you knocked out. Like, oh my god, oh my god,
right, or like,
I can't touch it, oh nasty, oh,
You're bringing to mind, remember UHF when the dude has the woodworking like pro and he cuts his finger off. He's like, and then he tries it again. He cuts another finger off. So that and Conan the Librarian, so good. But anyway, so like so like talking to that guy, he was just very matter of fact.
I have a very similar thing. When my dad died of cancer about 15 years ago. But I remember before he passed, I had a conference call with my dad and his doctor, and my dad's like saying something like, "Well, if I can just get through this next round of treatment, I'm gonna try and get my strength back, and maybe at least be able to live the last 6 months of my life, it's good." The doctor, without missing a beat, goes, "Unlikely. We're just gonna put morphine."
Wait, what did he say?
Unlikely. You're not gonna get stronger.
Wow.
That's my dad's like, he's like, this doesn't happen. He's like, my dad's like, well, okay, I understand. He's like, yeah, no, we're just gonna pain meds. That's it.
Wow.
And like, no, like, acknowledging what he said, just nope, not gonna happen.
Right, and it wasn't with intent to like hurt anyone's. It's just completely the cold hard truth.
Yep,
right?
Exactly. And I was like,
you have to respect that. It's terrible.
I thought he was a dick. I called him a dick at the time too. Like, hey, let's work on our freaking bedside manner a little bit, asshole.
I know.
What I mean? It's like, yes, my dad's dying, motherfucker. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I remember having that kind of attitude about it.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. But I remember just being so pissed, like how cold that was. Like, dude, have you never had anybody you love sick or dying? Has that never happened to you? I mean, so think about.
And it might have happened to them, but they might be sociopathic,
that
right?
Could be,
you know what I mean? And that's the kind of person that, people that have like those high pressure positions, right? And a lot CEOs, right? Yeah,
where presidents and stuff like that,
right? Where the stakes are very, very high, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, shit, if I'm honest with myself, like if the stakes of my job were fucking life or death, like I'd stress about that.
Yeah, because you're a human. You know what I mean?
I'm a I'm an empathetic human.
That's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like they're saying, like, okay, I'm going to decide whether these 10,000 people live or die right now by this decision.
But you know what? Those are decisions that have to be made by somebody.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So that's where the sociopaths come in. The ones that aren't like, like collecting body parts under the floorboards.
Look at my baggie full of human ears and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's.
Well, I think in those high pressure situations, you have to just think back to Gandhi's quote. Fuck it, just do whatever.
Yeah, right. I remember that when I remember when Gandhi was talking to those British soldiers and he said, "Fuck it,
just do whatever."
Do whatever. And then he went home and he like worked on making his own clothes for 12 hours.
Started working on his audition tape to Jersey Shore. He's like, I'm going to totally score this next audition, man.
Mumbai Shore.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
No, but I mean, I think you're right in that sense that there's a lot of people who are just not connected to anything. They're like, this is literally taking, ironically, the Loverboy song "Working for the Weekend" seriously. They're basically living lives that they didn't choose for themselves, doing work that they don't find any value in, and then hopefully making as much money as they possibly can so they can go and take a 2-week vacation to Tahiti or something like that.
Yeah, or like Friday Night by Vandenberg, which is a way better song.
Well, I'm just saying, I'll stand for Working for the Weekend.
No, I like Working for the Weekend too. I've played, it's a fun song, but
everybody is working for the weekend.
Right, but Friday Night is the superior song. It's a better song.
Or Saturday Night by Danger.
That's cool. That's a good one. Yeah.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make though is that I think there's a connection between that. Like, why is it that, people who let the shittiest music go by, that are people who probably just aren't thinking about stuff very much.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who just like, aren't like deeply invested in. I mean, it's a consumer culture. It's a capitalistic society that it's designed to create consumers, right? Like that,
that checks out. That math checks out.
Yeah, totally. That's why there's no, there's big money in shit like junk food and junk entertainment. So
Doritos, Locos, Tacos.
Right. Like, why do you think kids don't receive any financial education in school?
Because cool to not do that, dude. That's why.
No, it's because
you want to like be a square and like learn how to do finances. No,
it's
dude.
So we can
learn on the streets like everybody cool.
It's so that it's so that people will buy more fucking Doritos and McDonald's hamburgers and.
I tell my students this all the time too. That's why they stop caring about you after 35 too. Like after you're 35, you've been through enough shit. Even if you're an idiot, you've been through things 10, 20 times. You know what's cool and what you like and what you don't like, and you can't talk into it anymore.
Yeah, you can't be persuaded. Like, that's true. That's very true.
That's why they don't give a shit about it for 35. Like, all right, let's get back to the next group of 18 to 22, 25-year-olds who don't know anything, and we'll just sell them the Doritos Lobos.
So we like MTV isn't like someone different than they used to be. They've always been the same thing, which is
way less relevant now.
Which is a money making. I mean, MTV. The only reason
probably a write off, honestly, for Viacom at this point.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, who knows what the economics are now?
I'm sure not very good. I'm sure.
Well, I mean, it's all reality TV now.
I know, but still, there's cost to running a network. You know what I mean? It's
yeah. I mean, generating content's never been cheaper, though, right?
I guess that's true. But they need to I'm not going to give MTV advice, but they need to shrink their footprint down. They got too much. There's no reason to have linear TV anymore. They need to be moving to just a piece of a.
Oh well, I mean, all their shit's on. Dude, I'm sure there's a streaming service. Whether it's
I'm sure it is too, but I think shrinking everything down is the key to that. It reminds me a lot of like music retail in a lot of ways. Like you don't need to have a 20,000 square foot showroom with like all this stuff. You can just have what you need and then do things like rentals and lessons and things like that. And then there's not for a new business.
Or you can have a big awesome music store like Skips and host Skips Music Spotlight series or a new youth music performance program.
Skips is a legacy thing that's been around forever, though. Like if you're starting a business from scratch right now, like starting off with a giant footprint
from zero.
Yeah, that's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? You definitely need to keep things and then same.
Well, so MTV's a legacy business, So again,
it makes me so sad to think of them that way.
It's cheap to generate content, right? Like you don't even have to buy film for the cameras anymore, right? You just go out and film this crap on digital cameras.
Pretty soon, it'll just be done on someone's iPhone. Like,
yeah,
hey, Jim, come on, bring an iPhone over here, man.
I'm willing to bet. I don't know, but I'm willing to bet they probably like edit in like iPhone.
For sure.
When hip hop producer A gets in a fight with Jersey Shore dirtbag B, right?
Just like on his camera.
They probably have them run around with their iPhones and then download the shit. It's
so
it's
gross,
right? So
what? The other things on the side note. Speaking of that, is like you ever see like a commercial where like part of the commercial's conceit is that it's like shot like an influencer on their phone or something like that, like for a commercial for some company, but it's like oh my god, guys, I just found this new thing. It's so amazing, and like going. What is everything now content like you'd see on YouTube or Instagram? That's what people are like. The massive companies are using that.
So think about that for a second. Yeah. Like we live in the age of Instagram and TikTok influencers.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be
commercials for like Taco Bell and like Maytag that are shot like they're meant to be like a freaking influencer's video on like Instagram. You know what I mean?
Like you have to actually elect to follow an influencer. You have to decide. I would like to be influenced by this person.
Yeah. That's okay. That's.
I can't imagine myself doing that. No, I mean I can like find a new guitar player and be influenced by like their art and try to make it my own art.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, this is my favorite like makeup influencer.
And they say
this is my favorite.
Is what I should drink. This bottle is the best drink.
Yeah, this is what I should drink. This is what I should buy. Yeah. This is what I should listen to. This is what I should think about this.
Well, I think this dovetails right back to what we were talking about before, that people are not good at thinking.
Yeah, because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and also like, what if I don't like that? I'm not going to be cool. I have to like what people who are cool like. I gotta like that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's how people consume like news. They watch cable. They watch various cable news television, and just so that someone can feed to them what their opinion should be, and then they can like go parrot it, and then they parrot it at someone else, like hoping to be validated either by like
and the
other
that
person.
Ping pong thing back and forth. Like either this person agrees with me, or they don't agree with me.
Yeah, and if they don't agree with me, then I'm going to try and like set up a rhetorical trap so I can feel like I won the argument or something. Like it's totally.
The key to that. Have you ever been in that situation before when someone tries to do that with you?
Oh yes, I have a friend named Jason. Shout out to Jason Giori. Hey Jason,
he's made many appearances via.
I have a whole podcast dedicated to ripping on him. He's one of my he's one of my best friends. Like that's literally what we do.
Oh, I find there's a good way to shut it down. That's like I don't follow politics. Like someone says anything political, it's like I don't follow politics. I don't care.
Yeah, Jason reads stuff like the Epoch Times and like listens to like Ben Shapiro and shit.
And I
like
also
that.
follow up with I don't believe in any conspiracies of any kind.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. And it just shuts him right down. Like, oh, okay, I'll just go somewhere else then.
Yeah, I got him. I got him his birthday coffee mug last year that said Tinfoil Hat Club ever since, and I put I had his birthday engraved on it and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And yeah.
How'd you know his birthday?
Must be well, you know, I had my people at the deep state look it up. I had
the one world government. It's very important that they know Jason's birthday. The one world government.
I had my former vaccine scientist from Pfizer that I used to infiltrate the deep state. I had them look it up for me.
Fantastic.
Before Doge fired everybody.
Okay, speaking of it, let's pull it back around.
Yep.
Mustache acceptable or not acceptable?
Yeah. You know what? It's all on how you do it, right? So. I mean, like, so Uli John Roth, like...
Does that make you think less or more of the guitar player if they have a mustache?
Do you think that Uli John Roth's mustache... Does it matter what kind of mustache, right? Because, like, Rudolf Schenker has, like, a
any
more...
kind of mustache. That's, yeah.
Well, so, okay, well, you mentioned conspiracy theories.
Okay.
What I want to know
mustache
is...
conspiracy.
What I want to know is, like, you know, Rudolf Schenker has, like, a traditional mustache. Okay. And Uli John Roth had more of like the Fu Manchu mustache.
Kind of went with this whole vibe though, the Fu Manchu.
He totally did.
He's like some mystical dude living out in the Himalayas or something like that, you know.
Do you think that Uli John Roth got kicked out of Scorpions because Rudolf Schenker was threatened by Uli's superior mustache?
Too much mustache for one's band to handle, you know what I mean?
Right. Do you think that Rudolph grew his mustache like all like extra?
Wasn't he always mustachy though? I don't think it wasn't like they didn't start with a Rudolph with a mustache. And
I think Rudolph grew out his mustache to be a little bit like bushier because he was threatened by Uli's like more intricate mustache.
Uli's mustache was like always well kept, and it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like a nasty. It was like
Uli's mustache,
he put some time into that. You know what I mean?
You know, Rudolph's mustache was like more like, you know, like the basic rhythm mustache.
Yeah.
You know, like the basic rhythm and pentatonic mustache
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Uli's mustache wasn't afraid to go modal or to go out,
and they could harmonize together. He knew enough. Like Rudy's mustache was enough to harmonize with.
Yes, I mean their follicles were like able to work together for a time, but I think perhaps maybe Rudolph started feeling threatened, and so
we had Michael in the band, and he also had a mustache like his brother. But they're blood, so they worked. You know what I mean?
Well, then they had like matching mustaches, and so
they look very much like the same guy too. So which is kind of like, all right, that's weird.
I mean, they were trying to go like more of a like, you know, acceptable to the general population.
Then they had to get rid of Michael, thanks partially to Michael.
Yes.
And get Matthias in. And Matthias was like, okay, we need someone who's MTV ready. We need this guy, no mustache.
He was like, I shave every day.
Yeah, we're going to have like a guy who can be seen by humans. We will not avert their eyes at the sight of Matthias Jobs.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Donald Rozier and Blue Oyster Cult wouldn't be vindicated for like another 35 years.
Bobby Kimball from Toto. And you know,
right. Like everybody in Kansas.
Although Iommi, man, I gotta say he was funny. He was a stealth. You know, his mustache is so much a part of him. I don't even notice it anymore. I don't even realize he has a mustache.
You know, I noticed it when like there's pictures of him without it. And he looks fucking weird.
Well, now he just looks like Tony Iommi. I've never seen him. He hasn't had a mustache in 15 years.
But he has a mustache.
Does he have a mustache currently? I thought he was shaved.
Yeah,
I thought he was clean shaved.
I think he's got like a goatee now.
I mean, I guess people can shave. It can happen. So
people shave.
I don't know.
People shave.
I have to, my personal theory though, if you have a mustache. You have to bring your playing and your creativity to such a level that you can overcome the mustache. It's got to be, there's like a bar you must leap over to become acceptable. You know,
okay, so where does that put Lee Aaron's guitar player from the 80s? I mean, there's lots of great harmony guitar. I mean, his guitars all look like they're woodshop projects.
That's true. His taste in guitars is so questionable. It almost distracts me from the mustache issue.
But the studio, like Lady of the Darkest Nights, awesome. Metal Queens, awesome.
I've never heard
Rock Me All Over
literally
is awesome.
Just today is the first I've ever heard this artist, and I thought, man, that is so cool. You know what I mean?
She's a great artist, man.
Also, she's foxy, man, and I don't know how the hell she still looks like she does, considering that she was like in her 20s in the mid 80s.
You know, dude, you should DM her on Instagram, man. You know,
what is that? Some kind of weird like slang for something? Come on.
No, man. I'm just trying to see if we can like get Lee Aaron to sing, you know, on some songs for us.
I'm stunned, like, you know, because
I'll bet she does session work.
This reminds me a lot of like if you see a picture from like the 1940s or something, and you see like the oldest person ever, like, my God, that's an old man, and you're like, he was 32 in this picture.
Yeah, Yeah, right.
You're like, what the hell? He's like
Life
70.
expectancy was 40 years old back then.
He's pushing the limits back in the 1920s,
Right.
the Dust Bowl. And then you see pictures like now of this woman, Lee Aaron. She's got to be easily mid 60s. And if I looked at her, I'd say maybe 40. That's what she does not
she's
look
kicking ass. Yeah,
I'm like, how in the hell is that possible?
Well, and her voice hasn't suffered at all.
But
so
there's a lot of examples like that where there's people who still look amazing, at that age. I think we're coming to a new time. Like
yeah. Well, what is it like?
Nutrition
80 is the new 60 or something like that.
The closer I get to 80, the more I believe that. But I will say this. The nutrition, our lifestyles, our understanding of what's good and bad to ingest, those things have all grown by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, well, dude, you freaked me out, man. When I mentioned I haven't had a cigarette in 30 days.
Yeah, why did that freak you out?
Well, because you suggested I might live longer than I expected, and I wasn't planning on that.
Plans to live longer, man. That's what you must do.
Fuck, man, it means I've got to make even more money somehow.
That's true. Well, crypto. That's it's got a bright future. You know what I mean?
Oh, so I finally sold my 3 shares of Spotify.
Oh, we're not still doing that? We're not going to keep doing it?
No, well, with some changes in the market, so they got up to their 52-week high, right? I sold 3 shares and I made $300. I held it for a month.
All right, sweet. So that's only about 2 or 3 years worth of Spotify income from Exaegis, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I'll reinvest once the price comes down a little bit.
I get you.
I think they're going to go for a stock split eventually, so I'll probably buy some more shares here, maybe another month or two. But all I had to do to make $300 in the music industry was
invest in Spotify.
Hold 3 Spotify shares for a month.
Yep. I mean,
so there you go.
That's true. So that's what you're saying is the future's bright.
Of course.
Exactly.
Just if you're going to go out and make an album, just carve out part of your budget to buy Spotify shares.
Yep.
And just on day one of recording, buy those shares, and then when you release the album, then sell your shares, and that's how much money you made.
That's sound financial advice right there.
I think. But this is not. I am not a financial advisor.
That's true.
No,
you only play one on podcast.
This is not financial advice. This is just my opinion and whatever else I have to say to remain legally shielded from someone else losing money.
Financial disasters that Smalls gets into. Okay, real quick. Let's think about.
If you fuck up, it's your fault, people.
Any other stealth Canadian bands? Everyone knows about
April Wine.
Brian Adams, Rush, Triumph. Those guys are off the table. I guess Alanis Morissette, does that count?
No, I mean she's from Canada, but April Wine, man, April Wine. I like to rock.
Lee Aaron, right?
Lee Aaron, hell yeah.
What's another what's the other one? The one that Coney Hatch.
Yeah, Coney Hatch was great. Good.
That's LaBrie was in that band. Wasn't James LaBrie from Dream Theater in that band for a time?
Maybe, but Coney Hatch was great, man. That's some classic stuff.
So there we go. So I'm trying to think of stealth Canadian bands, which is hard for the Canadians to be stealthy.
Because Canada itself is pretty stealthy.
You think so? It just hides in the shadow. They're just
hides in the forest.
They're just incredibly polite. They don't want to encroach on America. Oh, sorry, being this massive landmass above you here.
Yeah, I wonder what the hottest band from Nova Scotia is.
I don't know. I don't know exactly where Nova Scotia is.
It's sort of. I think it's sort of on
the
northeast.
Sarah McLachlan's Canadian as well.
Man, I like Sarah McLachlan, but man, she's kind of made the same song too many times, and I always think about the Sad Animals.
Wait a minute, Nickelback, is that Canadian band?
Avril Lavigne is Canadian.
Is Nickelback Canadian or the Americans?
Maybe. Ew.
Trying to think. I actually like Nickelback. I got no issue with Nickelback.
I'm just feeling gross over here.
Is it Canada that's getting you, or is it more Nickelback?
No, it's Nickelback.
Is it the smell of the maple syrup that's making you a little sick?
No, if it smelled like maple syrup, I'd be down.
Oh, okay.
No, we're gonna get back to that shit sandwich from the MTV.
I have no problem with Nickelback. I don't.
It's just dumb bro, basically almost new country.
Hey, you know what though? At least it's got instruments. It's not it's not pop princess stuff that's all fabricated in a computer. It's actually something people.
Well,
play.
I mean, it's guitar stuff fabricated in a computer.
No, they're playing. Those guys know how to play. They're a real band. Come on. You may not like their songs, but they're not some bullshit band. They're a real band. You know what I mean? Just like the Nashville guys who do the country stuff. It's a real band about real musicians.
Nah,
you may not like the music, but you got to respect that part.
Well,
of it,
no.
All right.
I don't need to hear that. I'm gonna be a rock star. I fucking hate that.
That's from so long ago.
You know what? And I don't like Chad Kroger's voice. That's it. I say just his voice is not pleasing to my ear.
Well, that makes sense. There's no argument taste. It's like yellow versus purple. It's all good, man. Whatever you like. You know what I mean? Are you saying purple's a little fey? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it depends on the context,
Purple
right?
sucks.
Like if it's a Ferrari, then yellow all the way, right? But if it's like your local basketball team, purple's fine.
Oh my God, purple's the best. Actually, now you think about it. Although, who the hell knows what the future holds for that said basketball team?
I think what the future holds is going to be a gap year of like trying to come off of like expensive contracts and losing, and then getting a good position in the draft. I think the new GM
someone who doesn't work out.
So they just picked up Dennis Schroeder to play point, and
really, Dennis Schroeder's our freaking point guard.
Yep, Dennis Schroeder's our point guard now, and they just traded.
It's better Markel Fultz, whatever it is. That's better than him, but still, my God.
Yeah. So well, and then there's talk that Malik Monk is getting traded. We don't know if that's going to be part of the Dennis Schroeder deal. Like it might be more complex. I don't know.
What are we possibly gaining by getting rid of Malik Monk? I mean, what are we gaining?
Salary. Guaranteed salary.
For what? To pay like a bunch of lower end free agents?
No, Dennis Schroeder and Malik Monk are. So Malik Monk's offense is superior, but Schroeder's defense is superior.
Yeah, but you need both. You have to be able to score.
No, why? But we've got
Sabonis has shown himself to not be like someone who can be like their hub for.
Well, we're gonna have Zach LaVine, dude. He can go off for like 40 points a night, no problem.
Yeah,
so, and he's a defensive.
Schroeder is actually not a great like a distributor though.
He's not the worst. I mean, he
not
wasn't
good
my first
though either.
choice.
I mean, it's like
he's gonna come off the books in like 2 seasons.
What do you think chances are De'Aaron Fox ends up being like waived at some point in the next 2 years?
I think very good.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
I think a return trip to Sacramento would not be off the table. I could see it happening. You know what I mean?
He won't come back to Sac.
Where's he going to go?
Not after what he did. No way, dude. He doesn't want to. No, he burned his bridge here, I'm sure.
You think so?
Yep, I do.
Wow. Well,
I absolutely do.
Watching the Kings play, we got guys who can score. We got guys who can defend. We just don't have.
We don't have guys. Well, we're getting guys who can defend with Schroeder and.
No, dude. I will say I think Keon Ellis is a good defender.
Keon Ellis is a good defender, but so we just picked up Keon Ellis player option.
Yeah,
so
he becomes stick around, right? Yeah.
No, well, for 1 year, and then after that, he's an unrestricted free agent.
Okay. Well,
but we probably did that because he would have been a restricted free agent if we had declined the player option. So that means another team could have made him an offer that we would have had to match.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's just back to the woods for us again.
Oh yeah, they're totally back in the woods, but at least I think Scott Perry has an idea of like.
Yeah, but so did Marty McNair too.
No, he didn't. Monty McNair just kept getting offensive players that couldn't defend. Right? He was trying. Like Monty McNair kept trying to rebuild the glory years duds. Right? The San Francisco stupid ass baby Steph Curry fucking Lakers.
In their defense,
West.
they did make 4 NBA championships. So
but you can't chase the trend, right? You have to like counteract the trend.
Also, you don't have Steph Curry. That's kind of an important difference there. You have Steph Curry. That's you can.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Once the league changes one way, it has to change. So there were those teams of like fast and like 3-pointers and all that shit, which you have to do. Like now, everybody has to shoot fucking stupid.
Well, it's going back the other way now.
But then you have like the Nikola Jokic, like you have to have a giant passing center kind of team. So then there was the Nuggets prototype.
But there's only one Nikola Jokic in the world, though.
So Monty McNair was kind of trying to build like a hybrid team between, Sabonis was supposed to be Jokic light.
Yeah.
With, shooters all around him.
Sabonis is great, man. He's an awesome player, so I'm happy.
He is, but, if he's like your number one player on your team, you're not going anywhere, right?
That's why De'Aaron Fox and him made sense, because De'Aaron Fox was a great scorer.
But if De'Aaron Fox is your number 1 or number 2 player, you're not going anywhere.
I don't know, man. I feel like they had a chance a couple years ago when they lost to the Warriors in that 7-game series. I think they were a good team. They could have gone and probably made noise in the second round too. That team was good enough to do that,
Yeah, I mean there were injuries and stuff, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to. So they stood pat after that, and what they really needed was a power forward that could defend, right?
Yeah.
They needed like a Jaren Jackson Jr. type next to Sabonis, and McNair just could not get it done. He couldn't get Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
He couldn't get he couldn't get John Collins.
Yeah.
There's a whole variety of power forwards.
He's not long for this league, so I have a feeling he would be like a patch or like a band-aid.
Well, he would have. It would have been something, right?
Yeah.
They would have had a successful.
What they need to start doing
is
getting some of the guys who are like maybe bench players on other good teams and trying to take those guys and see if they can develop into a starting rotation player.
We'll see what happens with the new coaching staff, man. I don't know how I feel about
Doug Christie.
Doug Christie, Bobby Jad. They've got Mike Woodson. He's the lead assistant, and and his, he's an old coach, and he's got. I don't think he has a winning record as an NBA head coach.
Yeah, so it's like we're taking whoever, man.
Yeah, we took another dude from like the Suns bench, and the Suns sucked the balls last year. I don't know.
Kind of reminds me a lot about what the A's are doing. doing too. The A's of that same kind of thing. They've got the whoever used to be the third base coach. Okay, you're now the manager.
Right.
That's fine. And then we'll just whoever.
They do like a raffle, like which fan gets to be the third base coach today.
Right. You'll be the manager next. Gets fired after the inevitable terrible season.
Be the manager next game.
Exactly.
So if you buy 3 Wonder Dogs, these
are good, exciting times to be a Sacramento sports fan. I'll tell you.
Is it ever an exciting time to be a Sacramento sports fan? Yeah,
it's all good. I love my Kings. I'm gonna roll with them. I don't.
But hey, you know what? I'm an idiot, man. I'll eat whatever shit sandwich they feed me. So
boom, bingo.
Boom.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Rocky Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. On that happy note, let's bring it back around. Please make sure to follow us on social media and check out our band at xaegisband.com.
That's www.exaegisband.com.
Nailed it. There you'll find all links to our social media. Please follow us on social media. Please make sure to like, rate, and subscribe to this podcast as well. And we'll see you next week.
Peace.